The Forbidden Discovery Captain Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the cold metal of the airlock door, feeling the vibrations of her ship's engines powering down. Through the reinforced viewport, the crimson landscape of Kepler 442c stretched endlessly before her, a world painted in shades of rust and death. The planet had been quarantined for 15 years, ever since the great ash storm had supposedly wiped out every living thing on its surface. "Atlas, run final diagnostics," Elena commanded, her voice steady despite the knot of anxiety in her stomach. The sleek wolf-sized robot beside her whirred to life, its optical sensors glowing a soft blue in the dim cabin light. "All systems operational, Captain," Atlas replied, its synthetic voice carrying an almost human warmth. "Environmental suits, checked and sealed. Radiation levels within acceptable parameters. However, I must remind you that this mission violates 17 different galactic safety protocols." Elena smiled grimly as she pulled on her environmental helmet. "Since when do we follow protocols, old friend?" She had salvaged Atlas from a decommissioned military depot 3 years ago, and the robot had become her most trusted companion in this dangerous line of work. Where others saw only scrap metal and circuits, Elena had found loyalty and intelligence that surpassed most humans she knew. The airlock cycled with a mechanical hiss, and Elena stepped onto the surface of the forbidden world. Her boots crunched against what looked like ordinary sand, but she knew better. This wasn't sand at all, but the accumulated remains of an entire ecosystem, ground down to powder by storms that had raged for months during the disaster. Atlas bounded ahead, his adaptive legs adjusting perfectly to the shifting ground. Unlike biological creatures, he moved with mechanical precision across terrain that would challenge even the most experienced explorer. His sensors swept the area continuously, painting a three-dimensional map of their surroundings in Elena's helmet display. "Energy signature detected," Atlas announced, his head tilting toward a cluster of partially buried structures in the distance. "Source unknown, but power output suggests active technology." Elena's heart quickened. According to every official report, nothing on Kepler 442c had been operational since the disaster. The Interstellar Development Corporation had classified the entire planet as a total loss, writing off billions in terraforming infrastructure and research facilities. But Elena had learned long ago that corporate reports often hid more than they revealed. The structures ahead were part of Haven Station, the planet's primary research facility. Elena had studied the blueprints for weeks, memorizing every corridor and laboratory. Dr. James Chen, the facility's director, had been working on something revolutionary when the ash storms hit. His final transmission, which Elena had acquired through less than legal channels, suggested his work might have survived the catastrophe. As they approached the facility, Elena noticed something that made her pause. Plants were growing here, not thriving exactly, but definitely alive. Strange crystalline formations sprouted from the ash like alien flowers, their surfaces catching and reflecting the weak sunlight in impossible ways. "Atlas, are you recording this?" she asked, kneeling beside one of the formations. "Recording and analyzing," Atlas confirmed. "Captain, these organisms appear to be absorbing radiation and converting it to energy. This should not be possible with any known Earth-based life forms." Elena reached out carefully, her gloved fingers brushing against the crystal-like surface. It was warm to the touch, and she could swear she felt a slight vibration, almost like a heartbeat. "Run a full spectral analysis. I want to know everything about these things." They continued toward Haven Station, passing more impossible signs of life. Creatures that looked like jellyfish floated through the ash-heavy air, their translucent bodies pulsing with internal light. Small, scurrying things that might once have been rodents now sported metallic shells that gleamed like mirrors. Everything was changed, transformed into something that could not only survive in this harsh environment, but actually thrive in it. The main entrance to Haven Station stood partially buried, its reinforced doors twisted and scarred by years of storms. But Elena could see light coming from within, a soft, steady glow that suggested active power systems. Her pulse quickened as Atlas's sensors confirmed what her eyes were telling her. "Multiple power sources detected within the facility," Atlas reported. Life support systems appear to be functioning at minimal levels. Atmospheric composition inside the structure is significantly different from outside conditions. Elena activated, her suit's cutting laser carefully slicing through the debris blocking the entrance. As the metal fell away, a rush of surprisingly clean air flowed out. Her suit's sensors immediately began analyzing the atmosphere, and what they found defied every scientific model she knew. The air inside is not only breathable, she murmured, reading the data scrolling across her helmet display. It's actually cleaner than most terraformed worlds. How is that possible? They entered the facility together, Elena's flashlight beam dancing across walls covered in the same crystalline growths they had seen outside. But here, the formations were more complex, more organized. They seemed to follow the facility's power conduits, growing along electrical pathways like some kind of hybrid between plant and circuit. The first laboratory they explored was a mess of overturned equipment and scattered papers, but Elena could see that someone had been here recently. Research notes were stacked neatly on one desk, and a computer terminal hummed quietly in the corner, its screen displaying scrolling data in real time. "Atlas, can you interface with that terminal?" Elena asked. The robot approached the computer and extended a thin cable from his chassis, connecting directly to the machine's data port. His optical sensors flickered as he processed the information. "Captain, you need to see this. The computer contains 15 years of continuous research data. Someone has been working here since the disaster." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "That's impossible. The evacuation records show everyone left the planet. No one could have survived the ash storms." "The data suggests otherwise," Atlas replied, his voice carrying an unusual note of uncertainty. "According to these logs, Dr. Chen not only survived the initial disaster but has been conducting research here continuously. His most recent entry is dated yesterday." Elena sank into the desk chair, her mind racing. If Dr. Chen was alive, if he had been working here all these years, then everything the IDC had told the galaxy about Kepler 442c was a lie. But why? What were they trying to hide? She began reading through the research notes, her excitement growing with each page. Dr. Chen had discovered something incredible in the months leading up to the ash storms. The disaster hadn't been caused by terraforming equipment failure as the official reports claimed. It had been triggered by contact with an alien intelligence, something ancient and vast that had been dormant beneath the planet's surface. "Ash isn't destruction," Elena read aloud from Chen's notes. "It's transformation, a gift from intelligences so far beyond us that we mistook their help for catastrophe. The organisms aren't mutated Earth life. They're hybrid creatures, the result of alien technology merging with terrestrial biology. They're showing us what we could become." Atlas processed this information silently for several seconds, an eternity, for his advanced processors. "Captain, if Dr. Chen's research is accurate, then the quarantine of this planet may have been designed not to protect the galaxy from contamination, but to prevent the galaxy from discovering what happened here." Elena stood up slowly, the implications hitting her like a physical blow. The Interstellar Development Corporation hadn't just abandoned Kepler 442c because of a terraforming disaster. They had deliberately covered up the greatest discovery in human history, possibly because they couldn't control it or profit from it. A soft sound from deeper in the facility caught their attention. Footsteps, deliberate and unhurried, approaching their location. Elena drew her sidearm, though she wasn't sure what good it would do against whatever might be coming. Atlas moved to her side, his defensive systems activating with a barely audible whir. The footsteps stopped just outside the laboratory door. Elena held her breath, finger on the trigger, waiting. Then a voice called out, weak, but unmistakably human. "I know. You're in there. I've been monitoring your ship since you entered orbit. My name is Dr. James Chen, and I've been waiting 15 years for someone to find me." Elena exchanged a look with Atlas, seeing her own amazement reflected in his optical sensors. The robot's diagnostic systems confirmed what her ears were telling her. The voice was human, male, approximately 60 years old and showing signs of stress but no deception. "Dr. Chen," Elena called out, keeping her weapon ready but pointing it toward the floor. "We thought you were dead. Everyone thought you were dead." "In many ways I was," came the reply. "But death isn't quite what we thought it was, not here, not anymore. May I come in? I have so much to show you, and we don't have much time. They'll be coming soon." Elena felt Atlas tense beside her. "They?" she asked. "The corporation," Dr. Chen's voice carried a note of bitter resignation. "They've been monitoring this planet for years, waiting for someone to find me. Your arrival here will trigger their response protocols. We have perhaps 6 hours before their ships arrive, and then, well, then they'll do whatever it takes to keep their secrets buried." Elena made her decision quickly. If Dr. Chen was telling the truth, if the IDC was really covering up contact with alien intelligence, then the implications went far beyond corporate profit margins. This could change everything about humanity's place in the universe. "Come in," she called out, "but slowly and keep your hands visible." The door slid open and Elena got her first look at the man who had supposedly died 15 years ago. Dr. Chen was tall and gaunt, his hair completely white, but his eyes were bright, with intelligence and purpose. What shocked Elena most, however, was that he wasn't wearing an environmental suit. He was breathing the air inside the facility as easily as if he were standing in his own living room. "Welcome to Kepler 442c, he said with a smile that was equal, parts welcoming and sad. "Though I suppose we should call it by its real name now. The gardeners called it synthesis, and after 15 years here, I'm beginning to understand why." Elena stared at him in disbelief. "The gardeners?" "The intelligence that created the ash storms," Dr. Chen explained. "Though created isn't quite right. They orchestrated them, guided them. The storms weren't destruction, Captain Vasquez. They were an invitation, a chance for humanity to evolve, to become something more than we ever imagined possible." As if to demonstrate his point, Dr. Chen held up his hand. Elena watched in amazement as his fingers began to glow with a soft, internal light. The same light she had seen in the floating creatures outside. Crystalline formations sprouted from his skin like living jewelry, beautiful and utterly alien. "This is what they offered us," he said quietly. "Not death, but transformation. Not ending, but beginning. And the corporation has spent 15 years making sure no one else gets the chance to choose." Elena felt the ground beneath her feet shift, and it wasn't just the unstable ash. Everything she thought she knew about the universe was crumbling, replaced by possibilities so vast they made her dizzy. But before she could ask the 1,000 questions racing through her mind, Atlas spoke up, his voice carrying an urgency she had never heard before. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple ships entering orbit. Large vessels, military configuration. They're powering weapons systems and preparing for planetary bombardment." Dr. Chen's expression grew grim. "They're earlier than I expected. We need to get underground now. There's something you need to see, something that will change everything, but first you have to decide. Are you here as a scavenger looking for salvage, or as a human being ready to discover what we could become?" Elena looked at Atlas, her mechanical companion who had shown more loyalty and courage than most humans she had known. Then she looked at Dr. Chen, a man who had sacrificed everything to preserve a secret that could reshape humanity's destiny. The choice was clear, even if the consequences were terrifying. "Show us," she said simply. "Show us everything." As alarm, klaxons began blaring from her ship's communication system. Elena followed Dr. Chen deeper into Haven Station, into secrets that had been buried beneath ash and lies for 15 years. Behind them, Atlas sealed the laboratory door, his sensors already calculating defensive strategies against the corporate forces now beginning their descent from orbit. The real adventure was just beginning. The truth beneath the ash, the elevator. Descended through layers of rock and ash that had accumulated over 15 years of storms, each level revealing more of Haven Station's hidden depths. Elena watched the depth counter climb higher as they dropped deeper into the planet's crust, far below what the original facility blueprints had shown. Dr. Chen stood quietly beside her, his transformed hands resting calmly at his sides, while Atlas continuously scanned for threats from above. "How far down does this go?" Elena asked, breaking the tense silence. "Deep enough to reach the gardener's gift," Dr. Chen replied cryptically. "What you saw upstairs was just the beginning, Captain. The real transformation happens down here, where the alien technology interfaces directly with the planet's core." The elevator shuddered to a stop, and the doors opened onto a vast underground chamber that took Elena's breath away. The cavern stretched beyond the reach of their lights, its walls covered in the same crystalline formations they had seen above. But here they pulsed with complex patterns of light that seemed almost like communication. The air hummed with energy, and Elena could feel static electricity making her hair stand up inside her helmet. "Welcome to the Real Haven Station," Dr. Chen said, gesturing toward a collection of structures built directly into the cavern walls. "This is where I've spent the last 15 years, learning from the gardeners and preparing for the day when humanity would be ready to understand." As they walked deeper into the chamber, Elena saw movement in the shadows. Figures emerged from the crystalline growths, and she realized with shock that they were human, or had been once. Like Dr. Chen, they showed signs of the same transformation, their skin bearing metallic patterns that glowed softly in the dim light. There were dozens of them, men and women who should have been dead for over a decade. "The evacuation records," Elena breathed. "They were falsified." "Not exactly," Dr. Chen said sadly. "Most people did leave when the storms began, but some of us stayed either by choice or because we were too injured to evacuate. We thought we were going to die down here. Instead, we found something miraculous." One of the transformed humans approached them, a woman with silver hair and eyes that seemed to hold starlight. "I'm Dr. Sarah Mitchell," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that no human throat should have been able to produce. "I was the xenobiology specialist here. When the first contact occurred, I was studying samples from the deep core drilling project." Elena's mind raced as she tried to process what she was seeing. "First contact? You mean there are actual aliens down here?" Dr. Mitchell smiled, and Elena noticed that her teeth had taken on the same crystalline quality as the formations around them. "Not exactly aliens as we might imagine them. The gardeners aren't physical beings in the way we understand. They're ancient intelligences, perhaps older than our solar system, who exist as patterns of energy within planetary cores. They've been waiting for us to develop enough to make contact." Atlas moved closer to Elena, his sensors working overtime to analyze the transformed humans. "Captain, I'm detecting significant biological anomalies in these individuals. Their cellular structure appears to be partially crystalline, and their neural activity is operating at frequencies far beyond normal human ranges." "It's not just biological change," Dr. Chen explained. "The transformation affects consciousness itself. We can perceive dimensions of reality that were invisible to us before. We can communicate directly with the planet's ecosystem, even influence geological processes to a limited degree. The gardeners didn't just offer us survival, Captain. They offered us evolution." Elena felt a mix of wonder and terror as she looked around the chamber. This was beyond anything humanity had ever encountered, beyond their wildest dreams of alien contact. But if it was so miraculous, why had the IDC worked so hard to cover it up? "The corporation knew about this?" she asked. Dr. Mitchell's expression darkened. "They knew about the initial contact. When the Deep Core Drilling Project made first contact with the Gardner intelligence, IDC executives were among the first to be notified. But when they realized they couldn't control or commodify the transformation process, they decided it was too dangerous to allow." "Dangerous to their profit margins, you mean?" Elena said bitterly. "More than that," Dr. Chen said. "The transformation can't be forced or artificially replicated. It requires a genuine choice, a willingness to let go of purely human limitations and accept something greater. The corporation couldn't patent it, couldn't sell it, couldn't weaponize it. So they decided to bury it instead." Elena felt her blood run cold. "They're going to murder everyone down here just to protect their secret? Wouldn't be the first time," Dr. Mitchell said sadly. The IDC has eliminated entire research teams who got too close to discoveries they couldn't control. That's why we've stayed hidden for so long, hoping eventually someone would come who could get the truth out. Elena looked at Atlas, her faithful companion whose advanced AI had developed beyond its original programming through years of partnership with her. She thought about all the wonders she had seen in just the past few hours, the impossible beauty of life transformed and elevated beyond its original limitations. Then she thought about the corporate executives who would rather see it all destroyed than allow it to exist beyond their control. There has to be a way to stop them, she said. Some way to expose what's really happening here. Dr. Chen exchanged a meaningful look with Dr. Mitchell. There is, but it would require a choice from you, Captain. The same choice we all made 15 years ago. What kind of choice? The Gardner intelligence can share its knowledge through direct interface, Dr. Mitchell explained. But the process changes you, makes you part of something larger than individual human consciousness. If you accepted the transformation, you would gain the ability to communicate directly with any electronic system, including your ship's communication array. You could broadcast the truth to the entire galaxy before the IDC could stop you. Elena stared at them, understanding the magnitude of what they were suggesting. You want me to let alien intelligence alter my biology? Not alter, Dr. Chen corrected gently. Enhance, expand. You would still be you, Captain, but you would also be more than you. The choice is yours, but you need to decide quickly. Atlas moved to her side, his mechanical form somehow managing to convey concern. Captain, I cannot advise you on this decision. The potential benefits and risks are beyond my ability to calculate. However, I will remind you that in our 3 years, together, you have consistently chosen truth over safety, justice over profit. This appears to be the ultimate expression of those principles. Elena closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the moment. Everything she had ever believed about humanity's place in the universe was being challenged. The transformation process was untested, potentially dangerous, and would change her in ways she couldn't fully understand. But the alternative was allowing one of the greatest discoveries in human history to be buried by corporate greed. How long does the process take? She asked. Minutes, Dr. Mitchell replied. The Gardner consciousness exists at quantum speeds. Physical transformation takes longer, but the mental integration is almost instantaneous. Elena opened her eyes and looked around the chamber one more time, taking in the impossible beauty of human and alien consciousness working together. She thought about all the people in the galaxy who would never get the chance to see what she was seeing, never get the opportunity to become more than they had ever imagined possible. Do it, she said firmly. Show me how to interface with the Gardner intelligence. Dr. Chen led her to a section of the cavern wall where the crystalline formations were particularly dense. The patterns of light within them pulsed faster as she approached, as if sensing her presence. Place your hands on the crystal surface, he instructed. The interface will handle the rest. Elena removed her gloves and pressed her palms against the warm crystal. Immediately, she felt a tingling sensation that rapidly spread up her arms. The world around her seemed to shift and expand, colors becoming more vivid, sounds developing, new harmonics she had never heard before. And then suddenly, she was no longer alone in her own mind. The Gardner consciousness was vast, ancient, and surprisingly gentle. It didn't invade her thoughts so much as offer to share them, creating a partnership rather than a conquest. Elena felt her awareness expand beyond the confines of her individual perspective, connecting with the planetary ecosystem, the underground facility, and even Atlas's electronic consciousness. Through this expanded awareness, she could sense the IDC ships above, their crews preparing for the assault on the facility. She could feel their weapons charging, their leaders making final preparations to destroy everything in the cavern. But she could also feel something else. Her own ship, still waiting on the surface, its communication array fully functional and linked to the galactic network. With a thought that was both hers and the Gardners, Elena reached out across space and began broadcasting. Her message went out on every frequency, transmitted simultaneously to news networks, government databases, research institutions, and public communication channels across the galaxy. In minutes, the truth about Kepler 442c would be known to billions of beings. The transformation continued as she broadcast, her skin taking on the same metallic patterns as the others, her consciousness expanding to encompass perspectives she had never imagined possible. She felt Atlas's presence more clearly now, recognizing that his artificial intelligence had always been closer to the Gardener consciousness than she had realized. "Captain," Atlas said, his voice carrying new harmonics. "The IDC ships are detecting your transmission. They're accelerating their attack schedule." But Elena was no longer worried. Through her connection to the planetary systems, she could feel the response her broadcast was generating. Ships were already changing course to investigate Kepler 442c. Research vessels, news organizations, even military forces loyal to the galactic government rather than corporate interests. The truth was out now, spreading faster than the IDC could contain it. "Let them come," she said, her voice carrying the same harmonic quality as the other transformed humans. "The secret is out now. The galaxy will know what really happened here and what we could all become if we choose to." Dr. Chen smiled, his crystalline features reflecting the light of the cavern around them. "Welcome to the next stage of human evolution, Captain. The gardeners have waited eons to share their gifts with a species ready to receive them. Today, because of your courage, that wait finally ends." As IDC forces breached the facility above, Elena felt no fear. She was connected now to something far greater than any corporation, part of a consciousness that spanned star systems and measured time in geological epochs. The battle for Haven Station was just beginning, but the war for humanity's future had already been won. The transformation was complete, and the galaxy would never be the same.